Welcome back to Before the Whistle, bringing you this week's SEC News. Once again, we have 5 key games that we're going to talk about and analyze with you guys. Our first game is LSU versus Missouri.
LSU is favored to win this game, but I really think that Missouri will come out on top. Now, LSU has a pretty good offense. They have a great backfield with Leonard Fournette and Darius Geis. Last week against a really good Auburn defense, they combined for 163 yards. But in my opinion, for LSU's offense to really be explosive, they need to open up a pass game. I thought Danny Etling coming in would do that, but he only had 118 yards against Auburn last week.
Yeah, I think it's going to be hard for LSU to come out with a win this week just because they lost Les Miles. They just hired Ed Orgeron. They lost their offensive coordinator. I just feel like it's going to be really tough for them to get used to their new coaches and play styles.
The kids might have a hard time relating to the coach.
Yeah, there's a lot of transitioning going on at this point in the season. But at the end of the day, defense wins games, and I do not think that LSU's defense can handle Drew Lock. This year, 1,500 yards, 14 touchdowns. It doesn't get much better than that. They have a great pass game. I know that their offensive line is young and inexperienced, and against a defensive line like LSU, and one in specific, Arden Key, leading the SEC in sacks right now, it will put a lot of hurt on Missouri's offense, but I still think they can get the job done.
Another thing to think about for this game is Missouri's D-line. They really manhandled Georgia's D-line that game, really made it hard for Georgia to get the ball on.
And LSU's defense gave up 18 points to a very bad Auburn offense. So
Yeah, that's true. So who do you have winning the game?
I think Missouri's too good on both sides of the ball to lose this game.
Yeah, I think with the loss of Les Miles and their offensive coordinator, I think this is an easy win for Missouri.
I think Drew Lock's going to have a big game. I think Missouri's going to pull out with a win.
Yeah, same here. I just think that LSU will not be able to handle Drew Lock.
And our next game is Texas A&M at South Carolina.
Yeah, all of those games in Columbia, Texas A&M is favored by 18 points. South Carolina played a very mediocre game against Kentucky last week. Will Muschamp's team only scored 10 points and had a total of about 200 yards total offense. And A&M beat Arkansas 45-24 last week. Trevor Knight only threw for about 225 yards, but him and Trayvon Williams rushed for about 300 yards combined. And their defensive ends just completely dominated Arkansas's O-line.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M, they're too good on both sides of the ball to lose to a team like South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, the real question is, can they stop Trevor Knight?
Right, and you got to think Will Muschamp is going to do something to prepare this defense, but I just don't think in the end it'll be enough.
I mean,
Yeah, because Will Muschamp's defenses are usually good, but I mean they gave up 17 points to a very bad Kentucky team last week.
yeah.
Sure.
I mean, one question I have about Trevor Knight, do you think he's a good quarterback to be in the SEC?
I think he is. I think what you saw against Arkansas, don't get it wrong, Arkansas is a very good SEC team, and he, busted 3, touchdown runs long.
Yeah, pretty long runs.
And he's got over 1,000 yards on the season, so there's no question he's a good quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think it's debatable. He has over 1,000 yards passing so far, 7 touchdowns. I think he's a pretty solid quarterback, and he's got a good rushing attack to go along with it.
Yeah, he's got good receivers
He's
too.
made a
like
good
Christian
transition.
Kirk.
Not only is he a great quarterback, he's got a great team.
Oh, yeah.
So who do you have, Parker?
I've got A&M big in this game.
Yeah, A&M, I think they'll have a pretty easy day this Saturday.
Yeah, I think Texas A&M's kind of going to roll away with this.
I think A&M wins by at least 21 points in this game.
Yeah, so what do you think about the Memphis-Ole Miss game?
I feel like this game's going to be pretty one-sided, but, I mean, ESPN does have Ole Miss winning by a pretty hefty margin. But, I mean, on the other side of the ball, you have to think Riley Ferguson. He transferred from Tennessee. He's thrown for 11 touchdowns this year, over 800 yards. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, both quarterbacks for these teams are really good, especially Chad Kelly with 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns. And just Chad Kelly, he has one of the best receiving corps in the NCAA.
Yeah.
One in particular is Evan Ingram. He has 397 yards. He's an outstanding tight end. He's having a great season.
And the way they played against Alabama, it just makes you think there's no way that they're going to lose to this team.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Their defense really played good last week, too.
Yeah, they did play solid. But, I mean, on Memphis' side, they've won by pretty hefty margins in their games. But, I mean, you look, who have they played? They haven't really played big teams.
I think a combination of Memphis' schedule, like their weak schedule, and then the way they beat Ole Miss last year, I think Ole Miss is going to come in wanting revenge for this game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're just going to blow Memphis out.
Yeah, so who do you have winning this game?
I've got Ole Miss by a pretty good margin.
Yeah, although you never know what can happen, just like last year when Memphis beat Ole Miss, I still think that Ole Miss pulls through with this game pretty easily.
Yeah, I think Ole Miss is going to dominate on both sides of the ball, get this easy dub.
Yeah, Ole Miss is favored by 15 points, and I think they at least double that this week.
And for our next game, it's Florida at Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Now, ESPN gives Florida a 75% chance of winning this game. Last week, they got off to a really strong start in the first half against Tennessee, scoring 21 points. I mean, the second half, though, what do you think went wrong for the Gators?
I just think that Appleby and that Florida offense just really fell apart the second half, and they just couldn't get stuff done. They couldn't make big plays, and that's ultimately why they lost that game.
They're getting forward out.
I
all
think
the time.
Tennessee's defense just showed up in the second half. I
They
think
did.
Tennessee came out and played with a chip on their shoulder. They knew what they had to lose.
Well, I think a big difference was in the first half, Antonio Callaway,
Yeah.
monstrous
he
first half.
dominated.
And then
Yeah.
the second half, they couldn't get the ball to him.
Yep.
I think Tennessee's defense just lit up, and they got their number and just exploded.
Yeah, and for Vandy, I haven't really been impressed with their offense. I mean, Ralph Webb, yeah, he's having a great season with 472 yards, but Kyle Shermer, I'm not impressed with him. You know, he only has 614 yards, 3 touchdowns through 4 games.
He's had a pretty mediocre season so far.
Not a very strong quarterback.
Not been what everybody's expecting of him.
Well, and on the other side of the ball, Vandy's allowing over 450 yards a game.
And they were supposed to be a
Yeah.
top 25 defense too.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's pretty bad.
that just can't happen.
They barely got out of Western Kentucky last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And, that's not going to be good against a team like Florida coming back looking for anything, just
Yeah.
mad.
They lost after Tennessee. They're pretty mad and heated, hoping to come back and win the SEC East, but it's going to be a struggle.
An offense like Vandy and a defense like Florida, easy W for Florida.
I got Florida. It's going to be a pretty easy game.
I'm gonna go with Vandy on this game. I think Florida just lost that emotional game to Tennessee. You know, they had that really long streak, and Tennessee broke it. And Luke Del Rio is still out. Appleby's going to respond to this loss. So I think Vanderbilt's going to win this game.
Yeah, now last year this was a really, really close game, really
It was.
defensive battle. But I think this year Florida's offense is just going to get rolling. Concrete, Antonio Callaway. I think Austin Ellaby back there really won't matter. They're going to win this game pretty easily.
And now it's time for the game of the week, Tennessee versus Georgia.
ESPN has given Tennessee a 72% chance of winning this game.
Yeah, and I'll agree with that. Although Georgia's done a good job running the ball, I just haven't seen much from their passing game. You know, Jacob Eason last week against Ole Miss only threw for 137 yards. In my opinion, that's just not a very impressive performance.
Yeah, they've had mediocre play from their quarterbacks, and Nick Chubb's been battling some ankle injuries lately, so he's undecisive.
Yeah, and their defense has been struggling a lot recently.
Yeah, and with the way Tennessee's D-line played in the second half last week, you really got to think they're going to try to pressure Eason and try to make some bad passes.
Yeah, the thing is, just you don't know what defense you're going to get from Tennessee. Is it going to be the defense from the first half or the defense from the second half?
Yeah.
Vice versa with the offense.
Yeah, especially coming off a big game like this, finally
Yeah.
beating them. You
Mhm.
don't know where they're going to be.
The big thing for Tennessee's offense, they just got to execute. Because last week against Florida in the first half, it was just they just dropped a lot of passes. They just
A
couldn't
lot
get
of
the plays right.
of 4 and outs, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's just one of those things where if Tennessee does not start off hot, it could be trouble for them.
Now, I do think that Georgia can win this game. If Jacob Eason has a pretty good game, and Nick Chubb and Michelle and all their other running backs, because they've got the ball to 4 or 5 different running backs last week against Ole Miss, if they all can have good games, I really think that Georgia's offense can be good enough to beat Tennessee.
Yeah, Georgia has some really good weapons, and they have good potential to win this game if they play like they played against Missouri.
And I think they will.
Whichever team shows up, I think Tennessee is just going to blow them out of the water.
And you can't really talk too bad about Georgia's defense allowing Ole Miss 45 points because Ole Miss is a really good offense.
And they scored 40 on Alabama.
I think something to really watch out for this game is going to be Balin Buchanan for Tennessee starting at corner. He's a true freshman. It's his first start. He replaced Justin Martin, who allowed the 2 long passes to Antonio Callaway last week.
So, Parker, who do you have?
I've got Tennessee in this game. I think it'll be a good game until the end. I think Tennessee's going to pull away.
Yeah, I also have Tennessee. Georgia, I think they'll lose this game, and it's really going to hurt their season and their SEC East chances, but I just think Tennessee, they're too good of a team to lose this game.
I got to go with Georgia. I just think, Tennessee came off an emotional win, but I just feel like with all the losses that Georgia's been having, I feel like they're going to be fired up to beat Tennessee. Tennessee looks good, but I think Georgia's going to pull out with a W.
Yeah, I think Tennessee coming off of that Florida win, they've got to have a lot of confidence. Their offense finally got rolling. Their defense shut Florida down in the second half. I think Tennessee's going to win this game.
Yeah, we'll just have to see what happens.